on the Council's YouTube channel. Before we move into this afternoon's proceedings, there are a few housekeeping matters I'd like to bring to members' attention. One, I would like to remind members and officers to stand when they are speaking in the chamber. Two, please may I remind members, officers, including the press and public that are in attendance today, that all mobile phones must be placed in silent mode and no calls should be made or received in the chamber during this meeting. Agenda item 1. As this is our first meeting of the municipal year, there are several items of business that we need to consider. Our first item of business is to elect a person to preside as chairman of the council. I'm going to ask the monitoring officer to call for nominations and I will vacate the chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chamber, do we have any nominations for your chairman of the council for this year?
Proposed Barry Flux.
Thank you. Could I have a seconder, please? Thank you. Can we please vote on the nomination of Councillor Flux to be your chair? That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chamber.
Congratulations.
Page 42. Thank you. It's my duty to ask the Chamber to elect my Deputy Chairman, and it is my pleasure to nominate and propose Councillor Catherine Seymour for that role. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Sesford is seconding that. As a matter of law and in our constitution... Oh, sorry, I need to go to vote. Yeah, I haven't got that. All those in favour? I think we can say that's carried, can't we? Excellent, thank you. As a matter of law and in our constitution, my role is designated as chairman and Councillor Seymour as deputy chair. And together, both these roles are the civic and ceremonial heads of the council. By local protocol, as chairman, I will predominantly lead on matters of council business, and Councillor Seymour, on my behalf, will prominently lead on ceremonial matters, and in my absence, will act as the ceremonial head, representing the County Council at the many important civic events that will take place in the coming year. And to reflect the traditional importance of the role Councillor Seymour will play across the county, I'm going to ask Councillor Sesford to pass the chain of office to you, Councillor Seymour, so that you can take this to communities across the county as you represent the council in civic engagements. And before you pass the chain, Councillor Sesford, on behalf of the council, I thank you for all the fantastic work across the county in the past year, and is our tradition, I will invite you to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Chair. Much appreciated. It's been a long 12 months. It's been a hard 12 months, but it's an absolute honour to have served as the civic head, as was, of this county. A joy and an honour. I worked it out the other day. I think I've been to somewhere round about, give or take 5 or 6, with over 140 engagements of varying sources. School assemblies, boat naming up in Berwick. There's a Queen Jubilee, of course, at the beginning. And then, unfortunately, you know, the service for Her Majesty at Hexham Abbey partway through. And then all the things to around the King's coronation later on. So, don't think anybody would have thought that that's what you would get in 1 year as being a civic head, but I got all 3, so it was different. Throughout, one of my joys that I've had is obviously I love the armed forces, so any of the regimental parades, freedom parades or things like that have always been a bonus for me. But I'll tell you what has been a bonus is getting to meet other civic heads, other mayors throughout the North East. You know, so I've basically gone anywhere from sort of on the Cumbrian border up to Berwick is the highest I've been, down to Hartlepool, down South Yorkshire, that sort of areas, and met a load of civic heads, and they're all of different political persuasions. And we have a rule that everything's apolitical, and everyone sticks to it. And it's been an absolute joy. I'm saying nothing more, but it's been an absolute joy. As you know, my charity was Tynedale Hospice at Home. And those have been to my function before will be sick of having to be explained what they do. But it's a bit like the advert when it says it does what it says on the tin, you know. It's a Tynedale. It's in Tynedale area, which covers all the way up through Pontyland. It's a hospice, but it's at home. So it delivers services out there, and it has other services it offers and expanding all the time. So I thank everybody who supported me in this, and those who throughout the time have sponsored, whether it's prizes or whatever, even just turned up to the events. I had a representative of the Tynedale Hospice at home in this morning, and I'm pleased to say I was able to hand over a cheque for £20,012.97. Now, as of this moment, of course, that's my duties finished. I'd just like to say I do actually have one more fundraising event on Sunday, which is a fire walk, walking over these hot things that are burning. And so if anybody wants to come up and sponsor me, they're welcome to, and I'll make sure it goes back in the pot for Tynedale Hospice at home as well. But you know, there's certain people that you can't do this job without. Most people have consorts. I had a consort, my dearly beloved, who in 9 days' time will be Mrs. Sesford, but she's not at the moment. And the thing is, you know, when you go to meet all these people and when you go to speak here and you do a boat naming here or whatever, it's very hard to do it on your own. You know, some people do it, but going in a pair makes life 10 times easier. And she's been brilliant at this. She's been, she unfortunately can't come today, so she's working. And not only has she been brilliant at this, but she's been brilliant at this in a second language, because this is not her first language, of course, which some of you already know that. So thank you very much. Make sure it goes to Nicole when I see her next. Susan, Tracy, and Jackie. Without those, of course, I couldn't have done it as well. Because whenever I'm there chatting away to people, which I do enjoy, you know, I'm not averse not having a little bit of a chat now and again, they're there in the background organising this, making sure that's done and everything. And again, without them, it would have been impossible to do. So, if you don't mind, I'll just means a little bit of thanks to you both. Sorry, I can't get a costume to you all three here. So, yeah, thank you all for the help that you've given to us. I'm just going to put Catherine's chain on, and I'd just like to say, Catherine, I hope you enjoyed as much as I've have enjoyed the last year. If you are a person who likes a lot of sleep, forget it, because you won't be getting that in the next 12 months. But I'll just pass this over to you now. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and it was a great honour to have been offered the position to serve last year as the Deputy Civic Head, and now for this year as Deputy Chairman and Ceremonial Head of the Council. In this role, I will do my utmost to serve the Council and County to the best of my ability. Also, as the mental health champion for the County Council, it is my pleasure to support, as one of my charities, the Samaritans, who have 2 branches in Northumberland, one in Ashington and another recently launched in Berwick. As well, I will continue to fundraise for MND, along with a number of my fellow councillors, as I've done so for a number of years, and the Stroke Association that is close to my heart. I would also like to thank the outgoing Civic Head, Trevor Sesford, for his dedication, wit and charm, and for the funds raised for his chosen charity and his service to the Council and County as Civic Head. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Seymour. Between us, we have a lot to do in terms of managing the Council's formal business as well as representing the council at civic engagements. And so to help us do that, I'd like to ask Councillor Bainan to support you in your role for the coming year. Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda is apologies for absence. I have received these from Councillor Dale, Councillor Angie Scott, Councillor David Ferguson and Councillor David Towns. Are there any further from the floor? Councillor Hill.
Councillor Taylor's not well.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Dale on there. Yeah, speak about it. Councillor Dickinson.
Councillor Wallace,
Okay. Yes, he did.
Nisbet and Richards.
Okay, thank you for
And
Richardson. We've all made that mistake before. Okay, and I think we've got Councillor Jackson as well. Minutes. We have minutes for the council meeting on the 22nd of March 2023. Do I have a proposer? Yes. Proposed by Councillor Sanderson. Second by Councillor Watson. Are they agreed? Agreed. I confirm these minutes are a true and accurate record. And also we've got the extraordinary meeting on the 22nd of March 2023. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Wearmouth. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pattison. Are they agreed? Agreed. I can confirm these minutes are a true and accurate record. Item 5, we are moving on to next agenda item is announcements. I understand that the leader has some announcements he would like to make. Leader.
Thank you very much. I just would simply like to thank on behalf of all of you those staff who were most tied up and gave their most time to the events that we had at Coronation Weekend. I'm thinking of Karen, I'm thinking of Nigel, and the ladies that we've already thanked for their roles and that they carry out with their ceremonial duties. It was a very successful weekend. There were a lot of events that took place. We also took the opportunity to award Local Hero Awards to over 60 different people from across the county. And I think it was a really good thing to do. And I've already said to the Chief Executive, this is something we must try and do every year, a Local Heroes Award ceremony, because we do need to say well done to all those residents who do so much within their communities. So it was a great weekend, and thank you all very much to everyone who played a large part in organising this, and also to Alnwick Castle, who allowed us access to the castle and the grounds, which was a very pleasant afternoon. Thank you.
Okay. Our next agenda item is disclosure of members' interests. Does any member have any interest to declare? Can't see any hands, so we'll go straight on to item 7, to receive the names of the Deputy Leader and members of the Cabinet appointed by the Leader. This has been circulated in the Council chamber. Could we note the appointment of the Deputy Leader, Councillor Wearmouth, and Cabinet members appointed by the Leader and their portfolios? Yeah, if you'd like to come in, Leader.
Yeah, if I could just very briefly say this, I hope you've all had a chance to look at this. I have briefed group leaders previously about the changes that we want to make, which is to increase the Cabinet by 2, but reduce the Deputy Cabinet members by 3. So we will end up with some new portfolios, which again I've explained to the group leaders. They are here, but essentially we are splitting the adult social care from inequalities, so that we are creating a new Cabinet position for inequalities and well-being. And secondly, we are creating a new Cabinet position for the environment. And that is around all those things that people touch, see, feel when they go out of their front doors, when they go into our country parks. And it will pick on all sorts of areas like doing more to raise the profile of how important the environment is to all of us, and highlight the work that we do across the county in our country parks and in our parks. Just thinking the other day when I was up in Berwick, the wonderful parks they have there. So we need to make more of what we are doing for people and encourage them to use them more. And it will also pick up on things like having an Environment Day, which we'll explain more about in the coming months. And we were also going to do our best to try and tackle roadside litter more. It's going to be a difficult task, but every one of you, I'm sure, gets constituents complaining about roadside litter. And we're going to have a blitz on that, and we're going to do the very best we can over the coming winter to get to grips with it and do the very best we can on that. And so basically, they are there for your information. The other thing around the environment is around having more say in clean rivers, having more say in clean beaches, drinking water, and all those other things that are important, maybe not controlled by us, but we think it's time we had more of a stronger dialogue, actually, with some of the utility companies, and that's what we'll do. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Agenda item 8. We are required to establish committees and agree the appointment of chairs and vice chairs. The report is set out in the papers. However, there is a revised appendix which has been circulated in the chamber, I believe. Do I have a proposer for that paper? Proposed by Councillor, I've lost your name, Stewart. I remembered Gordon, I couldn't remember your surname, Gordon. And seconded by Councillor Wearmouth. Is that approved? Agreed. Thank you. The next item for us to agree is appointments to outside bodies. Council is asked to agree its nominations which are set out in pages 27 to 30 of the agenda papers. Do I have a proposer? Councillor Sanderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hill, I think, had her hand up there. Do we approve? Is that agreed? Oh, sorry, have you got a question? Yeah, yes, Councillor.
Just a very quick question. Obviously, after the Stirling local election results, we're still waiting for some of the combined authority changes, and I wondered when that might come through to the authority on proportionality.
I can say that I received an email today, actually, from the north of Tyne around a couple of positions that we need to look to fill. I haven't done anything about that because I haven't read it yet, but we will deal with that and we'll contact group leaders. More than happy to have representation from opposition groups on all of those that become available.
Councillor Morford.
Thank you. We've been asked to agree the nominations, but the list we've been given is a list of numbers of councillors, not of names. How can we agree the nominations without knowing the names? And would it be possible to have a list with the names on?
Well, I'll pass the leader on that one.
I think, have we not got those? Karen, definitely. Karen, you've got them.
This is the outside body one.
Yeah, Karen, I think you've got that list with the one change.
I've been advised of the changes that have been made, Chair. I can circulate them to the to members if required.
Okay.
Right, okay.
There were very few changes to the existing nominations.
We made one change. I don't know whether Labour Group have done one. Or...
Well, we didn't make very many changes, but it's also a responsibility of group leaders to fulfil the proportionality on those, so we just need to send the list there and then it's approved by council.
Indeed.
Okay, well, I think the only change from our group was me coming off Museums Northumberland and Councillor Seymour taking that place. Yeah. So are we happy to agree that? Agreed? Thank you. Carry on. Agenda item 10, members are required to approve the diary of meetings for the council and its committees for the municipal year 2023 to 2024. Do I have a proposer for that? Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Wearmouth. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. We're rattling through this. Agenda item... Yeah. Agenda item 11 is a report of the Leader of Council presenting the Corporate Plan 2023 to 2026, and that's on pages 39 to 70. Leader.
Thank you very much. This is the corporate plan. You have one in your pack. I'm very proud of this because it's taken a lot of work by a team of officers, and it's also had significant input from all members who have been invited to policy conferences. We've had discussions. We've had discussions with a number of our resident groups, with parish and town councils, with meetings, with online discussions. This is what we want to try and achieve in the next 3 years. It says very clearly those are the outcomes that we want to achieve for our people. The headline in all of this is meeting the key 3 priorities. One is to provide value for money for people paying council tax. Secondly, is to do all we can to tackle inequalities. And thirdly, is to boost business and encourage jobs and opportunities. Those are the 3 priorities for this administration, and I think for all the council, if you agree with me on that. We certainly seem to have a large degree of consensus when we've had our discussions. So this is not a corporate plan on behalf of the administration. It's a corporate plan on behalf of all of you that says we will together as a team produce these things. We'll work to those aims and our staff will do their very utmost to deliver those key aims that we wish to see. So with that, and my thanks again to everyone that's been involved in this, I would like to propose that we accept the corporate plan.
So it's been proposed by Councillor Sanderson. Do I have a seconder for that at all?
Richard?
Councillor Wearmouth is going to second that. Do any members have any questions? I'm seeing... Any questions? Are there any questions there? No. Okay, I'll go to... Shall we move... Does anyone want to debate this? It looks like it. Well, if we're going to go to debate, I'm going to go through the leaders first, and then I'll come to non-leaders. So, Councillor Dickinson, is there anything you want to add to debate here?
Just to support the comments made around some of the ambition in there, members from across all parties have participated in engagement sessions, and some of the fundamentals we all agree on in there in terms of inequalities, life expectancy, and some of the critical things for our residents. What I would just say, Glenn, is that I would really like to see the KPIs and the progress on this so that scrutiny or another body can monitor it, because actions do speak louder than words, and we don't want it to just be words on a paper. We want to see the action that we all know will be happening, but we need to articulate that to other people.
Fine.
Absolutely agreed.
Yeah. Councillor Kennedy, nothing from yourself. Councillor Reid, nothing. Councillor Morford.
Thank you. The Green Party group doesn't think that value for money should be a corporate plan priority, because it's just fundamental to everything that local authorities should provide. It's only become a corporate plan priority because councils have been cut to the bone by the current government, and we feel that the third priority should be the climate and ecological emergency.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Anyone else who wants to contribute to the debate, I'll bring Councillor Sanderson. I've got you on the list, but I'll bring you in at the end, I think. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Chair. There's lots of good things in this, and the 3 overarching priorities, as mentioned, about equality, about value for money, do respectfully disagree with the Green Party. And what was the third one? The third one's very good as well. I've not memorised this. I really do. Yes, inequality, the most important one. So anyone would agree with those 3, apart from the Green Party, those 3 overarching aims. There are some parts of this that are lofty ambitions, some which are maybe unrealistic as well, or even bizarre. I mean, I see how from Northumberland we're going to save the planet. I see we're going to take on the tobacco industry. And I see that we're going to increase breastfeeding. So some of these, there is also some understatements. Looking at the top of page 55, residents tell us that dealing with the council could be better. I think most of our conversations, certainly my residents in Berwick, the language is a bit more fruity than that and a little bit stronger than that, dealing with the council. That is to do with two things. One, the council could do a lot better. But two, we all know how hypercritical residents are, to be fair, and that is a separate area of inquiry. We do know that some residents seem to criticise the council, whatever we do, even good things. So that's not the full picture. My specific concern, though, in reading this, otherwise I'd feel, I'm generally in support, it seems to imply that the North of Tyne Combined Authority is automatically a good thing and we're all on board with it. It is potentially a good thing. There is funding. We would always go for the funding that is available, and I hope that the certain towns mentioned to get town centre regeneration, and given that the reduction in open shops in Berwick, I think we're now probably on the critical list, so I would like to see a focus on Berwick with the funding opportunities. But I think it's important to take this opportunity to remind you that this arrangement was not put to a referendum, and it wasn't even put to a vote of the full council. And I know you're going to say you went around consulting, but that's not democracy. If you said to people, we're not going to have elections anymore, but we'll go around consulting, see who you want to pick, people wouldn't think that's very satisfactory. And in this, you say work towards a stronger North of Tyne Combined Authority. And what my concern is, does that mean it's going to grow? Are we going to actually have an elected authority? So at what point, if this is going to expand, is there going to be democracy in terms of ideally a referendum, but certainly the full council being able to debate and vote on it, not just the cabinet?
Is there anyone else who wishes to contribute to the debate? I cannot see anyone, so I'll go to the leader to sum up.
Yeah, thank you very much for those observations. It's always heartening that Councillor Hill reads the papers and the agenda items that are coming forward to Council. Yes, some of the ambitions are lofty, and they are very ambitious in themselves. But I wouldn't want to do anything else other than be ambitious. I think so far as your point about consultation is concerned, we have done significantly more face-to-face meetings, and I certainly have this last year, and I'm going to do even more over the coming years. However, what was interesting, we're holding a special council meeting in June, and you will see there the results of the consultation that we've taken on the new combined authority. And I don't want to go into too much detail, otherwise that'll bring the councillor representing Blythe that's not a Conservative or Labour member, but I'm not going to name him in case it encourages him to get up and start going on about the combined authority. But it is an important point that you make. We were not given the task of carrying out a referendum. We were given the task of carrying out a consultation. And when we get to that meeting, you will see that Northumberland carried out more consultation events than any of the other councils involved. And I think the figure was over 200 people that we actually became involved with and spoke to. I know when I came up to Berwick, that was an interesting evening, and it was absolutely clear what people felt, and I took a lot away from that. So much so that I wanted to come back to Berwick Town Council, which I did. And I'm happy to come back when Berwick Town Council is ready to have me back. So, all I can say is thank you all very much indeed for your contributions to the build-up of this, and yours, indeed. And it's a great document. It's a testament to an awful lot of work. It gives us the road to follow without detours, without going off track on what we want to achieve. We will follow the three priorities, and those three priorities, Councillor Hill, are value for money, tackling inequalities, and business and jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. It's been proposed and seconded. Can we have all those in favour, please? All those, yeah, I think that's carried. All those against? All those, thank you. All those abstaining? You're not voting at all, are you? Okay, thank you very much for that. We go on to the next item, which is item 12. We have a report setting out the recommendations for the review of local area committees. The leader to present the reports. Leader.
Thank you very much. I'm not going to bore everyone because everyone has... because everyone has seen this over and over again. We've changed it, we've reviewed it, we've made a few little changes and tweaks here and there, but the final version is before you. And the final version essentially says we want local area committees to talk to people more, to get people involved, to get them to come to meetings. And those chairs will have complete freedom on how they do that. Well, relatively complete freedom on how they do that. But it's their agenda to get people to come. Now, we are quite clear that what we would like to achieve is to have delegated budgets for local area councils. And so what we're doing this time is rejigging the community fund, community chest, and allowing that to become much more of a central point of the local area committee meetings. And that way, those people who, or organisations that are awarded money will have a chance to come to the meetings and actually explain what they do, and for us to talk to them more. So this is all about trying to get a better dialogue with local people and to stop what we currently have, which are slight damp squibs in many cases. So let's all of us make these work, and we will work, and they will work, I know. So I hope you will agree. There is one, I'm not going to read all the recommendations, they're all there for you. The one thing I do need to highlight, though, and I have discussed this with group leaders, is that we want to bring back into being a county-wide rights-of-way committee. This is because we see the need to focus more on this important area of access. And so we have put forward the name of our chair, and I've offered the vice chairmanship to the opposition, and we will give Karen names in the due course of the next week or two as to how this is going to work. Is that all right?
Leader, are you going to present? Are you going to propose the recommendations?
I got put off. I'm sorry, by sniggering. I'm going to put forward the recommendations to you all, and I hope you agree with them. Thank you.
So all of those recommendations have been proposed. Do I have a seconder for them? Councillor Mark Swinburne, thank you. Do members have any questions? No? Sorry, yes, Councillor
It's a very simple question. You talk about the delegated budgets and bringing the community chest closer to the centre of the LACs, which presumably will help in engagement, etc. I just wondered if you could commit today that they'll be at the same level as they currently are and no funding will be taken away from them?
What a question.
Not that I'm suspicious of your actions or anything.
The current plan for next year, and we've got Jan Willis here with us, the current plan for this year is that the community chest remains at the same amount, and as we build up to this coming budget, with help from all of you, we will be looking at the community chest and the potential means of hopefully looking at a delegated budget as well, or a version of the community chest, but we will discuss that in due course.
Are there any other further questions? Can't see any, so I'll move into debate. Is there any debate on this? I'll go for the leaders. Scott, anything for the debate? No, Barry. Thank you. Councillor Kennedy. Councillor Reid.
Thanks, Chair. Well, here we are. I was going to mention that this was part of your manifesto commitment in 2017 to have local councils that was going to have devolved budgets and officers allocated and all the rest of that stuff, and that just seems to have evaporated like so many other of your manifesto commitments. But anyway, we all know this is difficult. All of us have had a stab at community engagement, and it is difficult because most residents would rather have us attend meetings for them than come to them themselves. That's why we're in this kind of state. People turn up the planning stuff because it actually affects them personally. They can see that something in their street is going to happen and they don't want it to happen, or they do want it to happen, so they turn up and they get involved. Most of the time, most people are happy to leave the decision making to us. That's why they go down to the ballot box and vote for us every 4 years. So I'm quite happy to vote for this because we've got to try something. Anything is better than nothing. But it is just basically the same old that I tried and Scott tried and all the rest of that stuff. You know, and all you've done is you've decided that the people in the north shouldn't have a biscuit and a cup of tea when they get there, having travelled for 40 minutes to get to the meeting. The Ashington and Blythe one has never had a cup of tea or a biscuit or anything. We're dedicated to doing the work. We get there and we go through the business, and it's very well chaired by our chairman. So I'm happy to vote for this, but what we should really do is stop doing this altogether for a little while, and we should use the money we've saved to have a proper consultation with the people of Northumberland and ask them how they would like to be engaged with the council. We shouldn't be telling them, if you want to engage with us, you've got to come to this sports centre on a Thursday or a Wednesday or whenever it is and sit there and listen to us prattle on. And by the way, you've got 5 minutes to speak, and if you go a second over it, the chairman's going to tell you to shut up. That is not how to properly engage with the residents of Northumberland, is it? So I'm happy to trundle along with this, but bear in mind, the Labour Party did do a really good job of engaging as far as grants were concerned. We had them come and they had to tell us why they wanted the money. We gave them the money. They spent it. They took photographs. They came back. We presented them with plaques and certificates and all sorts of stuff. But it's not sustainable. We have to find a sustainable way of keeping the interests of the residents in our brains, and the residents think it's actually worth going along to that, because if I say something, somebody might do something about it. Not, oh, I went along there and I had 5 minutes to speak and then I was told to sit down and the rest of them prattled on for an hour and a half. And then somebody talked about filling potholes and, you know, this is not how to do it, Glenn. But in the absence of anything else, then I'll vote for it. But really, we have to have a deep dive and a deep think about how we can actually involve the residents in Northumberland in the decisions that we make for them. You can clap now if you like.
Councillor Morford, do you have anything? Okay. I will then go to other members, and Councillor Swinburne had indicated to me.
Thank you, Chair. I sort of agree with Councillor Reid, but in a different way. And to actually just come back on something that he said, earlier this week I've contacted the leader and also Councillor Castle, who's the chair of the Black Chairs. And I put forward a suggestion that, yes, we do need to go out to our residents. And as members, you'd probably be aware that you receive many queries about all sorts of issues, and I respond to them, and the residents come back and say, I didn't know that. And the reason I think we're not engaging properly is because we're looking at putting reports to some of these lacks and information that we're thinking about. And, you know, chairs are thinking about, and members are saying, oh, can we put this in the lack? And what we're missing out on, and this is what I've suggested to the leader and to Councillor Castle, is asking residents. It's an amazing thing, this. Going out to residents and saying, what information do you want us to bring to LACS to inform you? So this is what we're missing out on, what we've been missing out on, engaging with residents to say, what is it you want help on? I'm constantly responding to my residents and they're saying, we didn't know that. And it's because of the information that we know and we can access. We need to be bringing these reports with regards to what the residents want to know. So let's go out there in the first place. We don't have to pause it and reset it. It's a bit of a consultation exercise, but let's just go out and say, what information do you need help with? And when they come back and say, well, I'm a bit stuck with this, I'm not sure about that, I'm not sure about that, that's the type of presentation that we know we then go out with, and we know we've already got an audience. We know they're asking questions. We know they're asking about grass cutting and weed control, because over this weekend I've probably had 20 emails about it, or 20 messages. So rather than answering them all individually, and if I've had 20, I know my colleagues across just Cramlington have probably had 20 individual ones, but that probably goes across the whole of our LAC area as well, and probably across the rest of the area. So let's put something together to say, as a council, this is how we deal with it. This is the problems that we have with the weather, with bank holidays, and this is when we introduce the grass cutting, with the weed control, etc. And so residents can come along and they can see a presentation as to how we do it. Antisocial behaviour. This is another one. So I know we've had something at the Town Council quite recently, which was very informative. Let's do it on a LAC basis, because antisocial behaviour is something that residents are constantly at us about. But they're asking us. So instead of just thinking, oh, let's do something about this, that might bring them in. Ask them what they want to see themselves. And when they ask us, I want to see something about this, then we know we've got the audience already. We don't have to pause it. We don't have to do a reset. All we have to do is say, what do you want to know about? And when they answer, then we've got our response on there. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to contribute to that debate? Councillor Kennedy.
Yeah.
Quite stuffy, that we have council meetings and, and public going to come in, is quite rightly highlighted by, sorry, I've put my thing on, have I? I have. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I've brought me big fog on. No, the point raised by Councillor Reid, that only if it is something that is controversial, where somebody's got a vested interest, they come to the LACs. That's what we've always seen that. I'll just give an example of what we did in Hexham as a town council, because I used to hold surgeries. A lot of the time you were sitting in the library waiting for people to come, and they just didn't come. And you thought, right, well, if you kind of go to them, what are you going to do? What are we going to do different? So what we did is, and I'm just put this as a suggestion, just for what it's worth, we actually hired a market stall, so the Hexham market. Every now and again, the town council will attend that market, have a market stall, and allow the people to actually come to us. So it's a drop-in session. So it's not formal, it's very informal. They're doing their shopping and they'll come and say, come to our market stall and actually start asking the questions. Why is the grass cutting not being done? What's happening to the weed killer? Potholes, etc., etc. So it's done in a very, very, non-confrontational way, just one-to-one conversations, and that's actually worked a treat. And we know that from our public, they've been very, very welcoming to what has been a very novel approach. But I'll leave that with you to have a think about. Thank you.
Councillor Dodd.
We're all on a LAC. None of us escape. So it's up to us to make the LAC work. There have been good points and bad points, and everybody tries to reinvent a wheel. What isn't seen is the fact that backbench or whatever members can actually discuss problems in their division, with the highways, with whatever. They get to talk to an officer and highlight the problem or a blockage or whatever is happening. And that's the unseen part of the LAC. So at the end of the day, it's down to us, not to make cheap points or whatever. Or if you want to stall, tell Strawberries, and do something. But that's a town council thing. This is the county council thing. That might be harder. A lot of us have surgeries.
Does anyone else wish to... I see Councillor Dickinson. Have you...
I mean, firstly, I just want to say thank you for incorporating some of the feedback on the original report, because I did send comments to Glenn which have been incorporated. And without sounding too... I'm sure the monitoring officer will tell us off afterwards, but, you know, it's become a bit of a thing anyway. There's something about being a little bit more modern and a little bit more open and a little bit more accessible. And COVID's taught us a few things as a council around hybrid, around its contribution to our carbon footprint, Glenn, and the ambitions of the council to reduce that. And there's got to be some way of incorporating, even in question time at the LACs, where people don't have to go through that really long process of making sure their questions in a number of days before, whether it could be opened up online to ask members questions in the LAC. And there's ways of managing that and doing that's really quite simple and quite affordable, that might well tick some of the boxes on the engagement ambitions of the council, but also open us up to a more modern way of working and let younger people and people that are at work join and ask a question and then go back to work because they can't make the 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock start, and life gets in the way, you know, children, animals, all the other things that people have to do. And if we open it up and make it more accessible to people, then we might get the feedback that we want, we might get the engagement levels that we want, we might get the interaction that we're after from the residents, and we might actually look to the residents like we want to hear from them, because currently, if you want to ask a question, it doesn't feel very easy to do that. You've got to go on, you've got to submit it for a period of time, it's got to be considered, then you'll get invited, then you can ask your question, then you can say something for a few minutes, and then you'll get a response, and then can we not just make it a little bit more interactive and a little bit more, less barriers for people to jump through to speak to us? That's just a suggestion.
Chairman, yes, obviously chair the briefing group myself, although I only go to one LAC, and that's the one in the North LAC, which is overwhelmed with planning, of course, it is. I can see it's the one that gets the most. And for example, what we're trying to do here, I think, is change the direction of travel a bit and improve incrementally how we proceed to improve them. The major thing, to my mind, is to split planning completely from the local area council, because we then have to make it work. For example, tomorrow at Berwick, we had 7 planning applications on the agenda, and then the LAC following it. That just was never going to work. And I know I've made myself unpopular in some quarters. I've deferred 2 of those planning applications. So at least it's going to be possible to get home before 9 o'clock, I think and hope. So in terms of getting it to work, we'll see how that works and see how it goes. But, you know, you're quite right, engaging the public, it's the trickiest thing. They will engage with you in different ways. And we're all different. We all have different methods of doing it. Me, I suspect one of the few that gets stuck into social media in a way that, to my mind, at least gets feedback, sometimes very negative and sometimes very difficult. I'll say to Councillor Reid, yes, they will agree that that's what they want. They want us in making decisions for them. But do they all agree with the decisions we've made? No, that's not quite the same. They want decisions that they want, not what we actually tell them has to be made. And this is where it can go wrong. And Councillor Swinburne did mention something important, and I realised from social media, and that's how it came, that some of the comments about the use of glyphosate, weed killer, in the council, this happened in Alnwick, and there was a bit of fuss on social media about how it was used and how we were handling grass cutting in certain areas. And we went, I, the Mayor, and other councillors went, including my colleague Martin Swinburne, went to discuss with Bob Hodgson, the head of local services, what he was doing, why he was doing it. You know, we got the most clear and detailed answers. We were far better informed. I knew far more about the subject than I wish I had. You know, I should have known more than I did before I went. But now it's very clear. And it seems to me there is a really good example of a subject where they can come to the local area council and explain, not just to parish councils who ask the same questions, but other members of the public who have made them publicly. And I think that is an example of how we must think imaginatively and improve how it operates. And why do we have to do it? Because they're not replacements for district council, but there are means of engaging locally. Because otherwise the county council becomes over-centralised and the perception is of over-centralised decision-making. And that's why I defend local area councils as a committees, my apologies, as a means of handling that. So I hope we'll give this a go, review it in time and see how it's worked, and change it again if it's not working the way we want. But let's give it a try. Thank you.
Councillor Murphy.
Thanks, Chair. I just think we need to be a bit more imaginative in the way that we consider what community engagement is. I think we've got a very old-fashioned view, pre-COVID, of what community engagement is, and that's people physically leaving their house, getting on a bus or getting in a car, driving to a building, parking, coming in, sitting down and observing a meeting. Every single day in Northumberland, thousands of residents engage with this council. They ring us, they ask us questions, they go on social media and they make comments. They fill in the new app around Up My Street or whatever it's called about reporting things. We know what they feel about their council and about council services because we get daily feedback from them. And in terms of what Councillor Reid said about people will come along when it's something important to them, of course they will. We've seen it. We've seen this room absolutely bursting at the seams in LAC meetings, and we've seen it virtually empty. My view is leave people in peace. Leave them alone. Let them stay at home if they want to stay at home. Why are we so obsessed with the idea that people have to come along and sit in a meeting and somehow that means that we are engaging better? We are engaging all of the time and in myriad different ways. And so, yes, I support this. I think it's great. And if people do want to come along, they're more than welcome. But I wouldn't worry if they don't. Just leave them in peace.
Councillor Brian Gallagher.
Thank you, Chair. I also welcome this document. I think it's a move forward. I was asked to do the Vice Chair's position in planning 2 years ago, and it's been my frustration that my members and new members to this council haven't had the training that they need, and we should never ever in the future cancel any meetings. We're online, we've mentioned Zoom, there should be training. And the planning monster, as I like to call it, that comes from government, changes very regularly. So we need to be updated on change of legislation. And I know that the officers they try their best to accommodate that, but for us to be a successful and a professional planning committee, training is paramount. And I welcome this document because it mentions training, training, training. What I would ask is, around training, that we'll have a review, specifically just on the training around planning in 6 months' time, and that we'll have a deep dive on it in a year's time, because, you know, it's so important to both our residents and this council. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to contribute to the debate? I cannot see any hands, so I'm going to go to the leader to sum up.
Thank you very much. I think we're all saying the same thing, which is that we want to see the local area committees open up, do things differently, do things in a more modern way. I mean, it's down to the chairs and the vice chairs of these to make them work. It's not up to me, it's up to them. So just off the top of my head, think of what you could do. You could have something on closure of pharmacies. You could have GP waiting lists. You could have antisocial behaviour, policing in general, affordable homes, council houses, and a whole range of other things like that, bus services, public transport. There are a whole range of issues that people will want to get involved in if we do it right. I don't want to have meetings in here. I want to get out and into local areas and do it in a more modern way. It's up to the chairs and vice chairs to make it work. Absolutely up to them. But I would say that we're not as bad as some might think we are, because each year we carry out an open meeting to meet officers who are responsible for various tasks in the council. I think, without I don't know whether Phil can remember, I can't remember exact numbers, but I think we were well over 30 or 50 for each of those meetings that we had. There's no reason why we can't have 2 of those a year. So that means you've only got 3 meetings to find a subject that people will come and get involved in. So I throw the gauntlet to them. I say, please make this work. We will give you the resource to make it work. So it's up to you. I'm sure this will work. So those are the recommendations. They're all in front of you there. Thank you for the discussion, which has been very useful, and the help in bringing this paper to where we are today, and I hope we can move forward with it.
Okay, it's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour? I think that's unanimous. I'll just check, double check. All those against? All those abstaining? Yes, that was unanimous. Thank you. Our next agenda item is to agree the redraft of the Council's Constitution. The leader will present this report. I'll let him get his papers ready. Over to the leader.
I'm ready. I should have said actually before, I'm sorry, Rob Murphy has done a huge amount of work on the local area committee redraft, and I'm very grateful to him for that. And I know he will help move things forward as well. This is the Constitution. Hooray! This is our revised version of the Constitution, which has been ongoing for nearly 12 months. We were set a task to do it, and Suki and her team and outside helpers and the policy conferences that Caroline Ball and others were involved in were so useful in pulling together the revised version of the Constitution. So can I say thank you all very much indeed for that. And it only remains for me to say I propose that we adopt this.
Can I have a seconder? And Councillor Hill is going to second that. Thank you. Do we have any questions on this? No, I can't see any questions. Do we have any debate on this? I can see a leader's put a hand up, so I'm going to go through the leaders in order and then the rest of the members. Councillor Dickinson.
Just a quick note for our colleagues on the Constitution Working Group. You did a great job, and you didn't mention you've been chewing through this for a long time, and it's been, I don't want to say hell, but I will, because it was. We've got to a point now where we have a document that we need to work from. We have been talking at the Constitution Working Group about making sure that this is understood by councillors and officers equally, because that is really important. We talked about firming up some of the language because it felt very directed at members when it was a member officer. This is how it is. This is how it is. We need to share that. And that has been incorporated. Hurrah! And we have a document to work from. And, you know, we talk about members' culture, behaviours and all the things that still need to be improved in this council. This document won't solve that, but it will help with that. And I think some of the engagement sessions were very positive. Some of the contribution afterwards were very positive. All the reading was very helpful to go to sleep at night. But we did actually get the document that we needed, that's fit for the future, that helps councillors articulate what they are here to do, what they are entitled to get in terms of information, how backbenchers can participate in scrutiny and other things, how the administration can be held to account without any lines being blurred. I think it's tidied it up nicely. I think we'll see how it goes. And once again, the Constitution Working Group, cracking job, because it took some time. And of course, the chap from Centre for Public Scrutiny.
Okay, you've preempted much what I'd say as a Constitution Working Group Chair, but I'll go on to the next speaker. Quite okay. Councillor Derek Kennedy, you're saying no. Councillor Jeff Reid. Right, Councillor Nick Morford, I know you've got something to say.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to say that it's clear that lots of hard work's gone into this, and there's been good engagement with councillors, which is appreciated. It's also clear that it's been rushed a little bit to get it to council today, and it's still quite rough around the edges, and it does need a good full proofread. But we have been assured that it will get that proofread and the rough edges will be smoothed off, so we are prepared to vote to adopt it today.
Okay, I'll bring in Councillor Hill at this point. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Chair. 3 points. One, for somebody that several years ago said that the Constitution was wholly inadequate, and I was pretty much the sole voice. I think I was accused of being negative and usual things, and I was proven right. Once again, just to irritate everyone. But for somebody who has created, this has been a brilliant exercise, great document, and I think something the Council and you, Chair, and Suki and Ed can all be proud of. I hope, just to deviate from the corporate plan, I know it's a lot of trees, but I really think it'd be useful if each member did have a copy as a one-off deviation from our Saving the Planet, if we all do have a copy, because it's really important. And also, final point, it's probably not 100% perfect, and I'm sure this will happen, but just to be closely monitored, I'm sure just early on there might be some tweaks, so it's not absolutely, and it shouldn't be, should it? It should be, but well done, everyone.
Okay, anyone else wish to contribute to the debate? I can see no hands, so I'm going to make my contribution. I was the Constitution Working Group Chair, and Councillor Dickinson's absolutely correct that that working group has done a lot of work in the background. We had a very long 2-hour meeting a few weeks ago, which might have been long, but it was probably necessary we did that. I'd also like to thank all of those who've helped facilitate the vast consultation on this. In particular, thanks to Ed Hammond, Phil McCourt, Monitor Officer and the Monitoring Officer team. It's been a lot of collaborative working. I think I've said enough superlatives, and I'll let the leader sum up.
Yeah, thank you very much. Again, thank you to everybody involved in this. The recommendations begins on page 93 and goes on to the top of 94. Essentially, it's saying if we can agree this today, that would be great. We'll look at any rough edges, of course, and any fine print that needs to be done. Enormous thanks to everybody that's played their part in this, and all the members that have played part in this. And you can see on this table how many sessions there have been for members. That's absolutely the way we want to do things here, to involve everyone, and I'm really grateful for that, and thank you to Suki as well, and for her guidance of this. It is important, and we will continue to keep an eye on it as things move forward through the Constitution Working Group. That's you can take that as read, and should any issues crop up, we will deal with them as they crop up, but I feel really confident, and I'm grateful to everyone for saying the same, that this is a good way forward, so thank you.
Thank you. That's been proposed and seconded. All those in favour? I'm going to do a double check. All those against? All those abstaining? I think we got that unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. I now go on to the final agenda item, 14, to receive and consider annual reports. See pages 135 to 162. Before these reports are presented, please note they are for noting only. May I now turn to individual scrutiny chairs to present their individual reports, and I will start with Corporate Services and Economic Growth Overview and Scrutiny, Councillor Bourne.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and keep this pretty short. Basically, I'd like to thank my Vice Chair, Liz, for her work, and our Scrutiny Coordinator, Sean, for all his work, and members of the committee. We've had a very good year. We've had a varied and full timetable. Highlights specifically included Advanced Northumberland coming to see us, being questioned, and actually members learning a lot of what goes on with our external companies, which wasn't quite so clear in the past, but now is. And I think we'll continue with that close working with some of our outside bodies. And also, scrutiny is going to be evolving, as has been indicated in the new Constitution. Scrutiny will now, hopefully, be looking at less pre-scrutiny of Cabinet decisions the day before, and more long-term, deeper work, both looking back at decisions that have been made and making recommendations and observing the results of decisions the Council and the Cabinet have made, and getting involved with issues earlier and having pre-scrutiny at the beginning of new issues so that we can actually genuinely feed more into the construction of new policies and reports before they get to Cabinet. So we're looking forward to getting stuck into that next year. I'd thank everyone that's been involved this year, and I commend the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bourne. I go over to Community in Place, Overview and Scrutiny. We have 2 reports in relation to this matter. The first one is from Councillor Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm delighted to be chairing this committee again, and this time I'm hoping to last longer than Liz Truss did as Prime Minister. It's an important committee because it represents our communities, and I think it's important. And I too share the points that Councillor Bourne has made about scrutiny. And in particular, what's picked out in the new constitution about scrutiny, representing the interests of our community is really important. It's been a packed workload. I'd like to thank Jeff Reid, who chaired the committee before me. I'd like to thank Mark Mather, who's been vice chair to us both. And of course, we must thank Sean and Nicola for the fantastic support they give to the committee and to the rest of the members. We've got a lot of work to do over the next 12 months, and we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Councillor Reid.
Thanks, Chair. That threw me because I thought I was going to be first, but never mind. Yeah, I just would like to thank Sean and the other members on the committee that kind of made it worthwhile turning up. It's interesting stuff. Everybody on there's got an inquiring mind. They ask intelligent questions, and the officers, they feel as though they've, earned their money when they've been to see us. So I wish the new chair luck, and I hope we can focus on what scrutiny should do, look at decisions that have been made, and then think up of some things they'd like to look at for themselves, rather than always be directed by the administration, which is obviously not what should happen. So, yeah, I'm always happy to answer questions. If anybody wanted to ring me or email me or catch me outside, it was a good year. I thoroughly enjoyed my time there, and I hope that people feel as though the committee itself did some good work, and especially the Storm Arwen report and the way the recommendations we came up with were actually stuff we could do rather than sort of pie in the sky. So it works well. The people that are on there are really good. So let's try to keep encouraging them, Nick. Thank you.
Right, I go to the next ones are health and wellbeing, overview and scrutiny again. We have 2 reports, and he might have to get to his feet again. The first one I'm going to have is Councillor Reid.
Well, I'm quite happy to talk about something. As you know, I'll talk about anything, but I don't think it was actually on this.
Right, OK, I've got a duff script. I've been trying to keep to the script because there's so much constitutional stuff today.
Yeah, well,
so I'll go to Councillor...
Excellent. We're trying to get out of here by 6 o'clock, so...
Right, Councillor Veronica Jones.
Thank you, Chairman. It's obviously been a year that's flown by. It is longer than a year. I'd like to present the annual report from the Health and Wellbeing Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Sorry, I do apologise. Do you mind if I sit down while I do this?
That's absolutely fine, Councillor Jones.
Thank you. Yes, as any scrutiny committee, it's been a really busy year. And as you'd expect, one of our main issues has been adult social care. And we've sort of looked at this in depth, particularly how well we've managed following the split of the partnership with Northumbria Health Trust. We've looked at how that's integrated into the council, both from the service users and for the staff who have transferred their employment. But we've also, following our understanding that the Health Trust were doing their own community services, we have looked at how they were going to go forward with this. And we did, the officers did come to scrutiny to answer questions. Admittedly, they came reluctantly, but we did prevail and they did come. We looked at the proposals for the Public Health Ring Fence Grant, and we're delighted the way it's going to be look at supporting the interventions on inequalities. One of the things we looked at as well is the GP and dentist appointments, which I think the leader referred to, and we will be looking further into both of those. The committee's been a really active committee. and shown real interest in questioning. You know, we've asked people to come and answer our questions where it's an issue that's concerned us. The organisations involved have come and given us a better understanding and answered our questions. I would like to thank the members of the committee for their work, and in particular Councillor Nisbet as the Vice Chair. I know members have welcomed the new proposals for overview and scrutiny and looking forward to the work programme. And I'd particularly like to thank Chris Angus, Scrutiny Officer, and Andrea, our Democratic Service Officers, for all the work they've done through the year. We really do appreciate it, and I particularly do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Jones. I go to the next one, which is Family and Children's Services Overview and Scrutiny. Councillor Wayne Daly.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, everyone's had an opportunity to read this report, which is very good, so I don't intend to go into mega detail about it. There are a few things that I want to do first of all, which is to thank Councillor Dodd, who's been an exemplary Vice Chair of the committee, and also to Chris Angus as well, who's been a really exemplary scrutiny officer. And also to thank the members of the Facts Committee, who are a vociferous bunch. Most of them are here, actually, and ask some very good, challenging questions in order to keep the performance of our schools, particularly in Northumberland, the high level to which it now is. You will see that on some of the work that we've done this year, there is significant work around the investment into our schools, into the COCAT partnership, into the recent scrutiny report that we had on the first stage of consultation for Berwick, with the significant investment into those areas. There's some really challenging work coming up that we're going to be doing deep dives into around special education needs, which is a particular passion of mine, and I know other members of the scrutiny committee as well. Just a couple of things which I think it's important to note. The scrutiny committee has external members on it. They are trade unions, they're school representatives, faith representatives, all with voting rights. And we've also had some external partners, one of them the Regional Schools Commissioner, who came along and had, I think it would be fair to say, a fairly challenging ride with the scrutiny committee, but that's exactly what we're there for, as a critical friend. So I think that does evidence the impact and effect of scrutiny. I'd just like to finish on two notes, if possible. One is, and I think she's in the chamber now, we have our new Director of Children's Services, which is Audrey Kingham. And more recently, we've just had the appointment of David Street as Director of Education, both exemplary officers. And I'm really looking forward to working with them, as indeed they will be with all members of this council. So on that note, Chair, I will present that. If anyone does have any questions, the door's always open and the email's there for people to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Daly. The next one is Standards Committee, and I will present this as the Vice Chairman. This is on page 159 to 162 of your report, of your agenda. What I will say is this has been quite a big year in terms of moving things on the Standards Committee. We've had new independent people appointed, and I'd like to thank Councillor Dunn, who helped me in regards to interviews earlier in the year, and I know that the monitoring officer was involved with that as well. I'd like to thank Mr. Joe Jackson, the independent chair, who I think we all agree is a very good chair of that committee. I'd like to thank everyone involved in the legal teams in the background of this, because there's a lot of unseen work that goes on, and I will just say I'm looking forward to a further year on the Standards Committee, and thank all of the members on there as well. Thank you. And finally, a report from the Armed Forces Forum, and firstly I've got Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. It's a real honour to be able to present what we've done in the Armed Forces over the last year. We are recognised here in Northumberland as being a real exemplar of best practices with our Armed Forces community. We are really, really active. We have attended many parades, other events, supporting the activities of the Armed Forces and the cadets. We've been to London, we've been to Manchester, we've been to Otterburn, we've been to Hartlepool, we've been to Morpeth, we've been to Hexham, we've been to Blythe, we've been to Cramlington, all in support of our armed forces. This council has been represented probably better than any other North East council. We take this role very seriously indeed. We've had 245 referrals to us over the last year. We are taking it so seriously that we've recently appointed a second full-time person to look after our veterans and associated families. The Armed Forces Covenant is a statutory duty that we have to do, but we don't do it in the statutory fashion. We do it because we want to do it, because we appreciate what our armed forces have done for us. And I'd just like to finish by saying none of this excellent report, which I hope you have time to read, we would have done if it hadn't been for Jackie Roll, who's been a real coordinator of this for many years, and with the help of Nicola Turnbull as well. So I'd like to say, I think we've had a wonderful year. I think we'd like to continue to do that, and I hope other people will support us. And I'd like to give the opportunity to Gordon Castle to say something if he wishes to add.
Thank you. I've got very little to add, except that I'm the veterans champion, not the veteran champion. It doesn't read the way I intended to. But apart from that, can I say, this is how it should be. And you'd expect me to want it to be like that, wouldn't you? It's my background. Honestly, as a council, I can't see how we could do it better with the resources we have. And I know that if I get an issue to me and I go to the right officer, which is usually Jackie, and she knows that, it's done, and I get feedback pretty quickly. And I think we get it right, and I think the Armed Forces veterans in our county must and should be grateful for the amount of support they're getting from this authority, because this is what we do very well indeed, and we're proud to actually represent the veterans in our county. So thank you to the officers, and well done.
Thank you for that, Councillor Castle. We have no other items to consider. Thank you for your time. I will now close the meeting. Thank you.
Ceremonial head is having a small reception outside.
1 second, just to announce that the new, excuse me, just to announce that the new ceremonial head, Catherine Seymour, is having a small reception outside. Please feel free to stay about for that. Thank you.